Says we are going live. Waiting for it in 3, 2, 1. Oh, might also want to, be able to hear myself. There we go. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another WineShark Wednesday. Welcome back, actually. It's been a couple of weeks. Yours truly was on vacation, and yours truly, Ollie, also did not get the shows in the can before I had to leave. So I was 2 weeks without show. So apologize for that. But I brought you special prizes instead. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. Hope you have trying to stay cool out here in the summer. It's been a brutal summer for a lot of us here in the South. I know that getting away to the Pacific Northwest for a week was delightful as far as temperature was concerned, and some great times, some great wines as well. So yeah, let's see. As I said, Mr. John Kerry. Hello, yes, indeed I am alive. Let's see, a couple of things, topical questions, and on the grocery store grab, we're going to continue our wines you should know, our mass market series. We're going to talk more about that. But two kind of topics that I want to talk about briefly before we do the quiz. Number one, I am starting to see the emails and such being communicated to me from various wineries. We are actually in the start of the harvest season, especially here in the more southern latitudes and warmer areas of the United States. Other areas like the very popular Napa, Sonoma areas as well, I've been seeing some information that they are going to have an early harvest due to warm weather. They're going through they're finishing up and certifying. There's several companies who consult with wineries and and with vineyard managers on various things of viticultural. And I was reading notes about how the process of variation is being confirmed and completed. So that's a fun little wine word. Like Verizon, look like the phone company, except spelled a little bit different. It's variation, and it literally is the changing of color of the grapes. When the grapes are born from the bud, when the fruit starts to come out, like most fruits and plants, they come out, as little green blobs. Well, then as they grow into that cluster, they stay green for a long time, and then they finally reach a maturity level where the skin begins to change color, going from more of a plant-like green into either that green gold color that we have in white-skinned grapes, to the more dusky rose color that you'll see in gray-skinned grapes, to the full dark blue and purple and dark purple of black grapes. So that's kind of an interesting sign that we're in that particular area. I got a notice from a local winery here in Texas. This said that this weekend, I think, is their second and final harvest. They're doing a harvest event where you can volunteer to go out and help them actually harvest grapes up at Narrow Path, and go harvest some grapes and enjoy some food, wine, and stuff afterwards, and basically just kind of see that part of the process of the winemaking world. So if you are here down in Texas, these are some things you might want to look into if that has any sort of interest for you. But the fact that it's kind of starting to go even in the cooler climate areas in California, well, they're not harvesting yet, that it is going to be an early harvest here is, something to think about. We've been talking about climate zones for wine. And pardon me, I still got a whole bunch of dry whole allergy thing that's been going on for the last couple of weeks here in Texas. My nose has been very itchy. Anyway, Mark says he's now in hot Texas with Betty. Yes, indeed, it has been very hot. I think we've had something like 40 days of triple-digit weather. It's been kind of brutal. But anyway, so the idea of harvest and the harvest being sooner, this is both part of just the awareness of where wines are in their climate zones, the different times where harvest is going to happen everywhere, basically from now all the way until the end of October for some of the cooler areas in Northern America, at least. So you're going to see that be a topic that's going to come up a lot, because that's not only a very exciting time for wineries, it's where we're getting the final peak art of the viticulture portion of the wine equation. The actual growth of the grapes, the harvesting of them at just the right time, is one of the big decisions that vineyard managers, winemakers, and winery owners have to make together to go, okay, is this exactly the right time? Because you want ripeness. You want to extract all that sunshine you can and turn it into awesome wine energy. However, We want to avoid overly warm temperatures to avoid losing acids. We want to have that peak maturity without sacrificing too much of our acidity. And just in general speaking, making sure that you can harvest it in a timely fashion, get it into the winery, and get it into actual under the crush and into the process of winemaking in a smooth and easy fashion. So it's definitely going to be an exciting topic. I'll be touching more back on this as I hear different pieces of news from different places. If there's anything of just kind of interest other than, hey, wine is being made, I will bring it to you guys here on WineShark. So, that being said, a second topic, this visit that I had up to the Pacific Northwest. So, I was there for personal reasons to go visit some friends and spend some time doing some board gaming and hang out and nostalgizing. But I so happen to have friends that live very close to the Willamette Valley, if not, they're basically in the Willamette Valley area, which means wine country. I've been thinking about doing a wine tour for some time. I haven't had the same level of experience in being on the ground as I have in many of the California wineries that I've done tours for, but certainly I know enough to be dangerous. And what I was doing was confirming a couple of new places on the map, running some numbers, making sure that what does it cost for us to go out there compared to California, and just physically putting on a map and in a calendar space what a tour would look like. Basically the geographical challenges. We're blessed in Northern California where we can base in one spot and hit a lot of different American viticultural areas. So I wanted to make sure that same thing. Pardon me. That same thing was true regarding basically the Pacific Northwest, because I didn't want to do just the Willamette Valley. Although one could easily spend, just like saying you can do just Napa or just Sonoma or just Lodi and spend all your time there and have some wonderful experiences. I wanted to kind of maximize the value of being there. So I did a little bit of research, some planning, and some boots on the ground to say that we're going to do a Pacific Northwest tour that will involve 2 days in the Willamette Valley and 2 days in the Columbia River Gorge, which is the southern portion of Washington state. And so some of their wineries will be included in this tour. So we'll do 2 days in the Willamette, 2 days up there. I found some great bed and breakfast spots for us to stay in, researched some restaurants for us to visit, specific wineries or some winemakers that I know of, and in the same vein, some ones that you may have heard of, some ones that you probably never heard of, some ones that are tiny, some ones that are large. See some of the dynamic winemaking that has made the Pacific Northwest one of our really unique and special regions of winemaking in America, and an excellent opportunity to get away from the heat in the summer. The plan is to do a tour sometime during probably June or July would be ideal in Oregon and Washington. So basically flying into Portland and staying in two different places from near Portland. The cool part about that is it gives us an opportunity to tour during the summer where I wouldn't necessarily take you to Northern California due to the fact that it's what they call high season. And it tends to be very busy, very touristy, and generally speaking, just more expensive for the same bang for buck. In California, we tend to go right at the end of the harvest, where you get to taste a lot of the wines and things are kind of winding down. This would be a case where we would go before their harvest actually starts. It's wonderfully cool weather. It's in the mid 80s there when it's, it was 100 degrees here in Texas with nice cool nights. It was an excellent example of a get out of town and really kind of enjoy yourselves in some beautiful Pacific Northwest weather. Not the dreary, rainy thing that you see a lot of the time in parts Northwest. This is a perfect example of their short, brief, and very beautiful summers. So, if you are interested, taking a group of 6 people, we need to find that group of 6, pick a date, and get something on the calendar. But here, I want to show you a couple of the photos that I had, just trying to describe to you what you might have seen from Instagram. These are a couple that I didn't put up there. This is the estate at Aloro Vineyards. What you're seeing over there is actually the winemakers and the wine owners' home, and it's kind of neo-Tuscan style. I really like the little pencil pines that are very indicative of classic kind of Italian Tuscan style, and you can see all these beautiful Pinot Noir grapes that are out there in full foliage right now, soaking up that sun. It was actually very warm the day that we went up here. It had actually approaching the triple digits, approaching 100 degrees. But the big difference here is it may be 100 during the day for a few days, but it still drops down to 70, 70 degrees Fahrenheit at night. So you have these nice cool evenings, very relaxing and really, very refreshing. Next up, so this is kind of a look down. I want to see if I got the next shot. Where is it? Come here, there, play. There you go. So this is actually the same vineyard looking down the valley. This is kind of to the northeast. And kind of dramatic, you can kind of see the Pacific coastal mountains there in the distance. It's kind of a hazy day. You couldn't really see as clearly as normal because of the heat. But it kind of shows you the variety of terrain. There's a lot of rolling hills. A lot of these vineyards, to take advantage of it on the lower hills, they'll take these southwest-facing slopes. This is an exception to that rule, but you can really see the color of the dry grass and the dark green evergreens that are ever present in Oregon, and really kind of see this patchwork of vineyards and agriculture up there. Hazelnut trees, lots of other orchards, lots of other agriculture going on in the Willamette Valley. So there's a lot of things, a lot of bounty of harvest stuff, which I think gives them a broad range of not only just fantastic access to foods, but really just kind of a neo-agricultural mindset where you've got the city very close, but you've also got agriculture, and they're a really, really fun place to visit. So anyway, back to here. Oh, that's me. Here's me. So let's talk about the wine quiz. So anyway, yeah. So tour, get with me. I'll be poking some people, and basically the cost is identical to the California tour, and that is basically an all expenses paid 5-day, 4-night trip. Arrive on Wednesday, fly home on Sunday. So if you want details, come and visit me or drop me a line. So, all right, so it's time for our wine quiz from Wine Wars. So we've been doing this for some time now and really kind of having fun with it. What we have is a series of questions, very similar to Trivial Pursuit, in 5 different categories. First category, vine to vino. Talk about the growing of grapes, making of wine, and world wine production. We've got the Graposphere, which talks about grape varieties, their wines that are made from them, and their geography. Mark was talking about, you can see Snowcat Mount Hood. Yes, exactly. But although, Mark, that would be directly behind me in the picture. It would be over facing to the east of where we were. We were down just north of a town called Newburgh, and Mount Hood is basically due east a little ways. And yeah, you could clearly see it when I got there. It was strangely hazy the day that we were, so you could just see the shadow of that old thing, of the wonderful Cascade volcanoes that run north and south. It's quite a dramatic view if you've never been. And so yeah, Mount Hood provides an excellent geographic waypoint when you're looking and going, okay, wait, what direction should we be going? Ah, there's the Hood. We're going that way. All right, so the third category is called Wine Cellar. It's about selecting, storing, and tasting wine. And then we've got Wine and Food, my personal favorite, right? Cooking with wine, wine and food pairing, and wine service. And then lastly, Cork Culture. We talk about wine people, business, arts, sciences, and wine trivia. So we'll see if we can play Stump the Chump with our choices today. All right, so on the Graposphere, what 2 fermentation ingredients are added to still or base wine to make sparkling wine? Okay, what 2 fermentation ingredients are added to still wine or base wine to make it sparkling? All right, so you got to think about the fermentation process here. What exactly is fermentation? It's kind of like when you think about starting a car. You got fuel, you got fire, you got air. What do you put? The answer is going to be yeast and sugar. You use yeast, and then you use sugar to give it fuel. The yeast eats the sugar, produces carbon dioxide, making our sparkling wine. Ah, there you are. So the answer is indeed yeast and sugar. Hooray me! All right, that's 1-1 to my column. See how I do today. Which is the grape variety of place-named sherry? Tempranillo, Grenache, or Palomino? Okay, so what is the grape variety of this place-named sherry? Tempranillo, Grenache, or Palomino? Okay. So this would be Jerez, right? We're talking about actual sherry, a fortified style of wine, but it comes from which of those grapes? Tempranillo, Grenache, or Palomino? The answer is Palomino. Yeah, they don't give you much more description why here, but yes, that particular little white grape makes the excellent style of Palomino sherry. There's also Pedro Jimenez and a few others that I'm missing off the top of my head because I haven't talked about sherry in a while. But excellent stuff. Unfortunately, a taste that has kind of fallen out of favor in American wine drinking. Sherry is not something that I would say people of even my generation drink very much of. So you definitely, if you're interested in doing that, I can do a little bit more, a touch of deep dive on that, and get a little bit more interested in the process, the styles, and the types. It is definitely worth knowing. It is not everybody's jam, but you can find some real treasures in there. And so I think there's also what I would say, like similar to port or sparkling wine, there's kind of something for everyone. There's all the way from wickedly bone dry to fantastically heady and tasty to luxuriously sweet. So you kind of get a lot of those styles in there as well. All right, third question. Which is the more effective way to inhale wine vapors to the upper part of the nasal cavity? Through the back of the mouth or through the nose? Back of the mouth or through the nose. All right, for those of you that have ever sat through one of my classes and learned see, swirl, smell, and sip, this is definitely in that smelling thing. This actually comes as part of the sipping part, which should give you a nice little clue. The word is retronasal olfaction, which means breathing backwards, basically. What you're doing is you're smelling backwards, technically, by pushing air through the back of your palate, not your nose. By breathing out like that, that's where you're going to get your real shot at your olfactory epithelium, the nerve bundle that gives you your sense of taste. It says through the nose is what they say. I disagree with them, seeing how, inhaling wine vapors through your nose is great. We all do this. But that retronasal olfaction is wonderful at doing the opposite. So I'm wrong on this one according to them, but as usual, I'm going to claim my own knowledge first. But hey, if we were playing Trivial Pursuit or we were playing the game for real, I would have to cede the point. All right. Which acid-resilient poaching liquid made of herbs, water, and white wine is used to cook fish and delicate meats? Is this stock, broth, or court bouillon? Acid-resilient poaching liquid. Acid-reliant, not resilient, pardon me. It says acid-reliant poaching liquid with herbs, water, and white wine. Well, this is a good food question here. This is about your definitions of stock, broth, and court bouillon. Now, the weird one is, I know stock and broth, but court bouillon is going to be my guess. The French one. Good answer, John. I like that. Well, they're all French, but the bouillon just sounds more French, right? All right, it says court bouillon. Now, because it just says court bouillon, and because that was a guess, let's find out why court bouillon, which is now here listed as a stew. Court bouillon is a quickly cooked broth used for poaching other foods, most commonly fish or seafood. Also sometimes using poached vegetables, sweet eggs, sweetbreads, coxcombs, and delicate meats. It includes seasoning and salt, but lacks animal gelatin. Okay, so unlike a stock, which has, which you're using the gelatin out of the bones, etc., you're going to get a lack thereof. But it says acid dependent. I'm going to have to learn. This is one of those gaps in my cooking education. I'm going to have to find out what those key things are in court bouillon and why our clue here says it is acid reliant. By the way, court bouillon, according to Wikipedia, loosely translates as briefly boiled liquid. Okay. Here we go. Although court bouillon may become a base for a stock or a fumet, in traditional terms, it is differentiated by the inclusion of acidulating ingredients such as wine, vinegar, or lemon juice. Okay, so unlike a stock or a broth, you add those little bits of acid in there. Acid from wine produces particular features for this. So that was pretty cool. That's a great question. By far the most interesting ones. And yes, made of herbs and white wine definitely bring the acidity, as John points out. So, all right, what is the shared name of the large champagne bottle, a French restaurant in New York City, and a biblical wise man? All right, so what is the common name of said item? This is a large format champagne bottle. I'll give you a hint. Most of them have biblical names. The thing is remembering which order they come in. And not just remembering the ones that sound cool, because boy, doesn't that name just sound biblical as all hell, which is usually how I remember them. Okay, so the shared name of the large champagne bottle, a French restaurant in New York, and a biblical wise man. I'm going to guess the fun named one of my favorite. I'm going to guess Nebuchadnezzar. No, you're right. It does not narrow it down. They're all it's either that or maybe Methuselah. Balthazar. See again, one of the other wise men. This bottle holds the equivalent of 16 regular champagne bottles. The Balthazar is the name. So obviously, I'm not dining out at French restaurants in New York often enough. More's the pity. All right, not bad. So what is that? 3? No, actually, so I got missed the last. No, we got Court Bouillon correct. So 3 out of 5 today. Not a great score, but not bad. I'll take it. Learning about Court Bouillon made it all worthwhile. So Balthazar was option number 2. Yes, Balthazar making a good name, I think, John. Nebuchadnezzar, Methuselah, Balthazar, Jeroboam, Rehoboam, etc. Although, if I've got to remember, this is one of those things I need to commit to memory. I know a lot of them, I know the names out of them, but knowing the order and size of them, and there's a difference between ones that are used in sparkling wine versus ones that are used in still wine. So sometimes the names overlap. The same bottle numbers are different bottle shapes with different bottle names, whether they are sparkling or whether they are still. Just FYI. And then there's also boring names like this one's Magnum. Okay, well, yeah, that's cool. It sounds very, yeah. A good mnemonic would be, as John points out, would be kind of ideal. Got to find some sort of things where we can tell a story about biblical wise men. Anyway, all right, so let's get on to the grocery store grab. So the grocery store grab, for those that have not visited with us before, our premise is to get the best value per dollar out of wines found at non-specialty and non-big box retailers. If you happen, out of convenience or necessity, to shop at the grocery store for your wine, you're going to encounter a lot of wines, but not necessarily a lot of good educated wine help. So we rely on label-focused wine purchasing. This little segment, this series that I'm doing is an exception to that rule, because actually what I'm doing here is looking instead at just the fronts of the labels. Names that I see virtually everywhere. In other words, wines that are ubiquitous, easy to find, and therefore can be a reliable choice. And whether, just because you see them everywhere doesn't make them good, but we're going to try some of these ones that you see everywhere, names that you can become familiar with, and decide whether they indeed are good for your palate or not. And, actually good for my palate, since until you try them, you won't know. Or if you have tried them, now you might. So today's selection is one of those mass market wines that relies on cheeky marketing and scandal. I say scandal, to advertise their wine. Their wine is called Ménage à Trois. It just makes straight people giggle when they see this word, written in public on the wine aisle. So Ménage à Trois was originally a simple style of white blend, I believe is how it began its world. But now they have an entire line of various wine styles. So not just their white blend, but red blends and everywhere in between. This one is called Limelight. This is their Pinot Grigio. I've had Ménage à Trois, their standard white and their standard red, but I saw this on there and said, hey, there's a reliable name that let's find out whether their name carries across the board here. On the back, their wine label isn't far off of a good selection from WineShark. It says their name, it says Limelight, which is their name of the wine. The Pinot Grigio tells us what grape it's from. It's California labeled, so it's a non-specific AVA. It's even got on the front things, it has crisp, elegant, and zesty written as keywords on the front label. That to me is a great example of what you want to be expressing to people. And on the back here it says, shine the spotlight on refreshing citrus flavors with Ménage à Trois Limelight. This dazzling California Pinot Grigio shines bright with zesty key lime, mouthwater and green apple flavors, and hints of minerality with a crisp finish worthy of a standing ovation. There's lots of great flavor words in there. Okay, so this, even though this is a wine that mostly markets on the giggle factor of its main name, they're actually telling you a lot of really good information there. We're talking about key limes, green apples, minerality, the finish being crisp is a descriptor of acidity. Zesty is another great word that's on the front label there. Crisp and zesty are great words to describe high acid wines. So even though this wine is, like I said, it is marketed with that particular tone, I really think that they're leaning well into a good quality label when it comes to saying, hey, here's what this wine tastes like. If you haven't tasted Pinot Grigio before, you're new to your wine journey, or even if you have, understanding that this wine right off the bat, if you're going to know, oh, that's what this wine style is going to be like. So that's what the wine label looks like. That definitely give it a solid B plus. I would be great to give them a little bit more information on food pairing options, but they're not really aiming at that. This wine is definitely I think built for just to hang out and a classic quaffer, as they say. So let's take a look. I mean, we know what's in the bottle. We know where the grapes are grown. And by the way, they say California, so this is a non-specific AVA. Remember, generally speaking, prestige comes with smaller locations. The more discreet where your grapes come from, generally speaking, the higher quality of wine. This is a $12 bottle of Pinot Grigio. Okay, so this is really in the square in the popular premium category here, and we should be expecting it to perform as a wine of that function. So it's not a $5 inexpensive wine, but it's also not a $30 hyper exclusive or a $30 niche wine, or even a $100 very hyper exclusive club wine. This is definitely a pop premium kind of category. So let's see how well they do. We've said they gave us flavor words, which I think is a great bonus. We always look for that as a plus. But now we're just going to ask ourselves, is this wine well executed? Do they build it well? Is it on style? We're talking about California and Pinot Grigio, not necessarily a hugely popular grape in California. Not something they're really known for, but certainly a very popular grape over the last, say 20 years. So we should kind of have a pretty good idea what we're looking for here. And then the other question of, is it worth the price tag? Well, at $12, it has to better perform like our $12 bottle of wine. So color-wise, this has the classic yellow straw color of a Pinot Grigio. The bottling, if you can see here, is a little tinted on the green side. That's not just the labeling that makes the wine look kind of green. The actual glass color here is a slight blue-green tinge, giving the overall package a particular look. This is definitely one of those wines that is not going to be that is definitely prone to light strike because it's got effectively clear glass. However, I'm pretty sure that this is a very high turnover wine, so we want to be on the wary side to make sure that this hasn't been exposed to too much UV light. All right, so on the nose, crisp is definitely, it smells acidic. It smells sharp, just like smelling a glass of grapefruit juice or lemonade. You can smell the acid in there. I find it more on the lime side, which is cute with their nickname Limelight, so kind of a play on, being in the spotlight, but also the word lime is in there. So very clever, clever wordplay is kind of their thing. And yeah, I smell much more of the lime zest, and a little hint of the minerality is much more than green apple. I don't really smell the sweetness of fresh fruit. I'm more smelling that almost margarita-like limeness. No complaint there. That is that is well within the style boundaries of what we're talking about with Pinot Grigio. Okay, lime zest, lemons, and citrus are very, very common with this particular grape. Okay, acids. Zesty is the right word. Boy, oh boy. Definitely has that acid pop both in the sides of your mouth, in your salivary glands, right in the front palate. It really kind of attacks the front of the palate with its acid. Very mouth-watering, juicy feeling. There's a little hint of that green apple on the end finish, but it definitely comes at you with that lime zest, that fresh squeezed lime juice first. Then it kind of rounds out into the apple in the back. Quite pleasant, easy to drink. It's not so sour that it causes you to pause. It does have that refreshing quality where you can sit here and swallow a mouthful of this and not have to wait a second for your palate to reset. Especially, I think, if you were eating food with this, you have little fats and salts to play around with this. You'd be in great shape. This would make an interesting little food partner. A little bit warm in the mouth. I'm guessing it's probably in the 13 alcohol range. So it's right in the middle point, not low. Yeah, 13.5 is what it says on the back. So it's not super hot weather friendly, but it's not over the top either. And this is something that I'd love with cold snacks of some sort. This is that cheeses and charcuterie board thing, just to be very broad about it. Or this would be great with anything. I would love this with guacamole, for instance, because this kind of would be like a half weight margarita, right? Instead of the salt and sharp, sweetened lime of a margarita, you could easily replace this in the same way. Chilies, lime, avocados, garlic, a little bit in that, anything in that nacho slash good quality guacamole flavor, which now all of a sudden I'm craving guacamole. So now we know what I'm doing for dinner. But yeah, this is fun. I mean, for $12, you're totally getting what you pay for in the bottle. Definitely, right up the alley of what it should be expecting. Now remember, so the question of is it on style? California Pinot Grigio, as far as I know, really isn't one that I would bring out as a iconic style. Really, that kind of sticks much more into the Italian range, and the several different styles there, whether you're talking about from the far north or just in the Veneto, which is in the north. So this again, I don't know comparable. This is Sauvignon Blanc in California has a longer, more stretched history than that, and I would actually put it in its own style. This compares closer to the Santa Margherita style of Veneto Italian Pinot Grigio, and with the much more citrus forward, much less minerality overall than in Trentino Alto Adige and Sudtirolo. But yeah, crisp, fun, easy drink. I mean, you definitely and you definitely go grab a bottle of this. And so this is a thing where while I have this as one example, everything I've tried by Menage a Trois is basically kind of in that middle of the road. They're not bright, huge standouts. OMG, you have to try this and share it with all your friend wines, but they deliver a reliable product. They deliver something that appeals to a lot of different palates. I was looking for images for the label, and I mean even on just looking at their wine categories. I'm going to go on their website now because they choose these without looking them up on their website, without doing a lot of research. They don't read text sheets or anything like that. But I mean, they've got 25 wines now. Everything from their sweet red blend to their midnight dark to their bourbon barrel aged cab, their silk sultry red smooth blend. They have a regular Pinot Grigio as well that's not the same as Limelight, so that's interesting. Lavish Merlot, hot pink sweet rosé blend. Wow, there's a thing. Menage a Trois on the hot pink. Do tell. All right, and then their exotic blend. Ooh, it's exotic, like a lychee. Menage a Trois Gold, Decadence. So yeah, so they've got a ton of different wines. Everything from red wines, sparkling wines, their sweet collection. So they're definitely a winemaker that is trying to cover all the bases. They're not really specializing in any one thing, but for the most part, they do take advantage of the one thing we want to know, and that is it reliable? When I see this in the store, can I count on it? And because I think this has got such broad distribution, I think that you can reliably count on it. Is it going to be those wines, like I said, that you want to give somebody as a gift to show them that you really care? No, probably not. But you could walk into a party with this and not feel ashamed. So there is that. Anyway, any other questions before we get to going? We ended with John's and needing a mnemonic was the last comment I caught. But yeah. I'm excited about going to Oregon. It's going to be a really fun opportunity. I hope you guys can join us there. We're going to be planning several other. We've got the Amador County tour in California that I really want to do, in addition to our usual Napa-Sonoma one, Lodi, Sonoma, Napa, Lake County. We're going to do Lodi and Amador. Then we're going to, we've got Washington's, and here in a couple of weeks, preview. I'm going to be doing another thing that kind of is. Doing that tour the brief tour up in Newburgh, and finishing up the planning for the Oregon tour gave me the inspiration to do something else that I've wanted to do for a while, and that is take this little man. Boink. Can you see? Can you be seen on there? I don't know if you can be seen on there. Anyway, taking Laszlo up on a road trip, and we're going to go up to northern New Mexico. Really want to check out some of their wines up there. I've heard much about their wine country, and between there and Arizona, although I'll probably do separate trips, I just want to plan like a long weekend to do this. But I'm going to go up to the Santa Fe area, check out some of the wineries up there, and report back on those newer, smaller areas of American wine production that I would say are definitely in the up-and-comer categories. So expect there may be basically WineShark in the Wild road trip with several either FB Live, there may be FB Live casts rather than on YouTube, or they may be on Instagram as well, kind of a combination thereof. But definitely look for that coming up soon, and that may be another possible tour location, folks either flying into Santa Fe, or for several of us who live here in the South, it's a medium day's drive. It's about 10 hours, so it's a long drive, not a crazy long drive day, but certainly an easy get out of town for a weekend. So I might do a tour up there coming up as well. So look for details coming soon. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, obviously it is now my time to go seek out some avocados so that I can make guacamole to go with the rest of my bottle of Pinot Grigio. I hope you guys are having a wonderful summer, and thank you guys once again for joining me. If you like what you hear and what you see, share with a wine-loving friend. If you really like what you see, join us over on Patreon. By the way, you're Patreon members, you're going to be receiving some special info on discounts for your tours. All of my Patreon members at seller level or above will be getting discount options for their tour packages. So another benefit of dealing with cool stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, I have been your WineShark. Cheers. All right, guacamole. Only you understand me.